People often mistake silence for weakness. In the cutthroat world of cybersecurity consulting, being underestimated was my secret weapon. For 3 years, I played the role of the perfect executive assistant at Reynolds and Shaw Consulting, while quietly becoming one of the most sought-after ethical hackers in the industry. My name is Maya Chen, and until tonight, I was content letting my boss, Richard Shaw, take credit for my work. Not because I wanted him to, but because it gave me the freedom to do what I do best without office politics getting in the way. Maya, where's the Henderson report? Richard barked, straightening his bow tie in the reflection of his office window. The annual company gala was in full swing 20 floors below us in the Grand Ballroom. On your desk, sir, I replied, adjusting my simple black dress, along with the updated security protocols for their network infrastructure. He grabbed the folder without looking at me. Good. Tonight's important. Marcus Chen from Global Tech will be there. No relation to you, I assume. He smirked at his own joke. No, sir. I kept my face carefully neutral, though I knew exactly who Marcus Chen was. After all, I'd spent the last 6 months secretly protecting his company from one of the most sophisticated cyber attacks I'd ever seen. Just make sure the drinks keep flowing and important people can find me, Richard instructed. And try not to bore anyone with tech talk. You know how these executives hate dealing with support staff. I nodded, following him to the elevator. If only he knew that half the important people at tonight's gala had been desperately trying to meet me, or rather meet Phoenix, the anonymous cybersecurity expert who'd been saving major corporations from digital disasters. The Grand Ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and designer evening wear. I moved quietly through the crowd, doing what I did best. Observing, listening, staying invisible while gathering information. Richard Shaw. I overheard one CEO whisper to another. Heard he's brilliant, saved global tech millions with some kind of revolutionary security system. I smiled slightly, remembering the sleepless weeks I'd spent writing that code. Richard had simply attached his name to the final report, never understanding a line of what he was presenting. Maya, Richard's voice cut through my thoughts. Come here. Mr. Chen wants a drink. I approached the small group where Richard stood with Marcus Chen, CEO of Global Tech. Marcus was younger than most people expected, barely 40, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Actually, Marcus said, I was hoping to discuss the adaptive firewall system that saved our company. The code architecture was remarkable. Richard puffed up with pride. Yes, well, I always say that proper network segmentation is key. The real innovation, Marcus continued, was the machine learning algorithm that identified the attack pattern. I've never seen anything like it. I kept my face carefully blank as Richard floundered. While the technical details are quite complex, I'd love to hear them, Marcus pressed, especially the part about the neural network adaptation protocols. Richard's face reddened. Maya, why don't we get Mr. Chen that drink now? But I was hoping to discuss the code with. She's just my secretary, Richard cut in with a forced laugh. If you want to discuss technical details, I can have one of my actual cybersecurity experts join us. Maya's good at organizing files and keeping the coffee fresh, but let's get someone who actually knows what they're talking about. The silence that followed was deafening. Other conversations nearby stopped as people turned to watch the scene unfold. I saw recognition flash in Marcus's eyes. He knew exactly who I was. Actually, Marcus said quietly, I came here specifically to meet her. Your secretary wrote the code that saved my company $50 million. Richard's champagne glass slipped from his fingers, shattering on the marble floor. What? You know her as Maya the assistant, Marcus continued. But in cybersecurity circles, she's known as Phoenix. And she's the real genius behind every major success your firm has had in the past 3 years. The color drained from Richard's face as he looked at me. That's impossible. She's just a graduate of MIT's Advanced Cybersecurity program. I finished for him. With a master's in artificial intelligence and 3 published papers on adaptive network defense systems. But you never bothered to read my resume, did you? Just saw a young Asian woman and assumed secretary was the highest I could aim for. Why? Richard sputtered. Why didn't you say something? Because, I replied calmly, being underestimated gave me the freedom to do my best work. No office politics, no ego battles, no men trying to take credit for my ideas. Oh wait, you did that anyway. The crowd around us had grown. I recognized CEOs, tech executives, and security chiefs, many of whom had been secretly corresponding with Phoenix for months. Your Phoenix? William Foster, CEO of Atlantic Securities, pushed forward. Your encryption protocol saved our entire trading platform last month. The DoD contracts, Richard whispered, realization dawning. The global tech success. The Foster algorithm. That was all you? I smiled, thinking about the hidden folder on my laptop, filled with emails, documentation, and timestamps of every project I'd actually created. Would you have believed me if I told you? Or would you have found a way to take credit, just like you did with every report I wrote, every system I designed, every client I saved? This is ridiculous, Richard blustered, but his voice shook. You can't prove. Actually, Marcus Chen interrupted, she can. Every line of code has her digital signature embedded in it. A signature we've all been trying to trace for months, hoping to hire the brilliant mind behind it. He turned to me. Which is why I'm here. Global Tech would like to offer you a position as our Chief Information Security Officer. 7-figure salary, full creative control, and proper credit for your work. The ballroom erupted in chaos as other executives rushed forward with their own offers. Richard stood frozen, watching his carefully constructed reputation crumble as the truth came out. I held up my hand for silence. Thank you, Mr. Chen. But before I consider any offers, there's something else you should all know. I pulled out my phone and opened my secure email. For the past 3 years, I've documented every instance of Mr. Shaw taking credit for my work. Every forged signature, every modified report, every fraudulent contract where he claimed expertise he doesn't have. You wouldn't, Richard growled. Remember that consulting contract with the Department of Defense? I asked sweetly. The one where you claimed to be the lead developer of the security system. I have the original code commits, the email trails, and most importantly, the billing records showing you charge them for expertise you don't possess. Richard lunged for my phone, but Marcus's security detail stepped between us. Don't, Marcus warned. You've done enough damage. I looked at my watch. 9:45 p.m. The board of directors should be receiving my full documentation right about now. Every project, every line of code, every instance of fraud, carefully documented and timestamped. The crowd parted as Patricia Reynolds, the firm's founder and chairwoman, strode toward us. Her face was thunderous. Richard, my office. Now. As they left, Marcus turned to me. That was quite a revelation. But why tonight? I watched Richard's retreating back, because sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about choosing the perfect moment to step out of the shadows and into your own light. The next few hours were a blur of business cards, offers, and congratulations. But as the gala wound down, I sat alone in my office, my real office, not the assistant's desk where I played my role for so long. Opening my laptop, I began composing an email to the firm's clients, finally signing it with my real name instead of my Phoenix pseudonym. It was time to step fully into the light. Richard had taught me an important lesson, though not the one he intended. Sometimes being underestimated is the greatest advantage you can have, as long as you're keeping receipts. The Monday morning after the gala, I arrived at the office early as usual. But this time, instead of heading to the assistant's desk, I walked straight to Richard's former corner office, now mine, according to the email Patricia Reynolds had sent at 3 a.m. The board has reviewed your documentation, her message read. Richard Shaw has been terminated. Your appointment as Chief Technology Officer will be announced this morning. The corner office is yours. I set my laptop on the massive desk, taking in the city view I'd only glimpsed while serving coffee. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since Saturday night. Job offers, interview requests, speaking invitations. Phoenix had finally stepped into the light, and the tech world was scrambling to catch up. Settling in. Patricia stood in the doorway, looking both exhausted and energized. Still feels surreal, I admitted. 3 years, she said, shaking her head. 3 years of Richard taking credit for your work. Why didn't you come to me sooner? I gestured for her to sit, because proving tech discrimination isn't as simple as showing code. Richard would have claimed he supervised everything, that his guidance was what made it work. I needed irrefutable proof, and I needed the industry to recognize Phoenix's work before they knew who Phoenix was. And now they do, she smiled grimly. The Department of Defense called this morning. They're launching an investigation into Richard's contract fraud. He could face federal charges. That wasn't my intention, I said quietly. I just wanted the truth to come out. The truth has consequences. Patricia leaned forward. But that's not why I'm here. The board has another proposal for you. We want to create a new division under your leadership, focusing on developing next-generation cybersecurity solutions. Complete autonomy, triple your current salary, and your name on everything you create. I raised an eyebrow. Trying to keep me from accepting one of those other offers. Trying to right a wrong, she corrected, and trying to keep the best cybersecurity expert in the business where she belongs. Before I could respond, my assistant, yes, I had one now, appeared at the door. Ms. Chen, the global tech team is here for the 9 a.m. meeting. I stood up straightening my blazer, ready to see how your secretary handles a client presentation. Patricia grinned. Lead the way, Phoenix. The conference room was packed. Marcus Chen sat at the head of the table, surrounded by his tech team. But instead of taking my usual spot along a wall with a notepad, I took the presenter's position. Gentlemen, I began pulling up my slides. Let's talk about how we're going to revolutionize cybersecurity. For the next 2 hours, I walked them through my vision, not just for protecting networks, but for fundamentally changing how we approach digital security. No more reactive defenses, no more patch and pray. My systems would learn, adapt, and evolve faster than any threat. When I finished, Marcus was the first to speak. Impressive as always, Ms. Chen. But I have to ask, how did you maintain this level of innovation while playing the role of an assistant? I smiled, pulling up a hidden folder on my laptop. By treating every dismissive comment, every coffee run, every time someone talked over me in meetings as an opportunity. While they were underestimating me, I was building this. The screen filled with code, my magnum opus, a security system that made everything I created before look primitive. Is that? Marcus leaned forward, eyes wide. A quantum-resistant encryption protocol integrated with adaptive AI defense mechanisms. Yes, I switched to the next screen. I've been developing it for the past year, testing it in fragments across different client networks. Now it's ready for full deployment. The room erupted in technical questions. For 3 years, these same men had ignored me during meetings. Now they hung on my every word as I explained concepts they'd never imagined. We want exclusive rights, Marcus declared. As do we, Patricia countered. It was developed in our firm. I held up my hand. Actually, I developed it independently on my own time, and I'm not selling it to anyone. I met their surprised stares. I'm open sourcing it. What? Several voices exclaimed at once. The best security comes from collaboration, not competition, I explained. We've kept our best innovations siloed, protected by patents and NDAs. Meanwhile, hackers share techniques freely. Is it any wonder they often stay ahead of us? But the potential profits, someone protested, will come from implementation and support, I finished. My team at Reynolds and Shaw will provide enterprise integration, but the core technology belongs to everyone. No more gatekeeping, no more artificial scarcity of security knowledge. The meeting ran over by 2 hours as we hammered out the details. By the end, we had a new paradigm for cybersecurity consulting, one based on collaboration and shared innovation rather than proprietary secrets. Over the next 6 months, my open-source security protocol transformed the industry. Companies that had once been bitter rivals now collaborated on improvements. Young developers, especially women and minorities who'd been shut out of traditional tech power structures, contributed innovations that made the system even stronger. Richard Shaw, meanwhile, faced federal charges for contract fraud. But I didn't attend his trial. I was too busy building something better than revenge, a legacy of real change. 1 year after the gala, I stood on stage at the Global Cybersecurity Summit, delivering the keynote address. The audience was a sea of diverse faces, many of them developers who contributed to what we now called the Phoenix Protocol. They say success is the best revenge, I told them. But I've learned it's not about revenge at all. It's about choosing the right moment to step into your power, and then using that power to lift others up. My phone buzzed, another alert from the Phoenix Protocol's global network. Somewhere, a new threat was emerging. But this time, we face it together, with thousands of brilliant minds collaborating in real time. Later that evening, in my office at Reynolds and Shaw, I mentored a young developer who reminded me of myself. She had brilliant ideas but struggled to be heard in meetings. Document everything, I advised her. Build your case quietly, and remember, being underestimated isn't a weakness. It's an opportunity to exceed everyone's expectations. Patricia joined us, smiling at the scene. Teaching her the Phoenix Protocol. The technical one and the personal one, I replied. The young developer looked confused. There's a difference. The technical protocol protects systems, I explained. The personal one protects your spirit while you're waiting for the right moment to soar. Both are equally important. As they left, I looked out at the city lights, remembering that night at the gala when everything changed. Richard had thought he was displaying his power by dismissing me. Instead, he'd given me the perfect stage for my emergence. My assistant, a bright computer science graduate who I was actively mentoring, brought in the latest project reports. The Department of Defense implementation is exceeding expectations, she reported, and the open source community has submitted over 1,000 improvements to the core protocol. I smiled, thinking about all the hidden talent finally finding its voice through our collaborative platform. Schedule a global developer conference for next month. It's time to showcase some of our rising stars. The Phoenix Protocol had become more than just a security system. It was a movement, a way of proving that the best innovations come when we break down barriers and let talent rise regardless of title or background. Sometimes I still get emails from people asking why I played the role of assistant for so long. They don't understand that those 3 years weren't about hiding. They were about gathering strength, building evidence, and waiting for the perfect moment to transform not just my career, but an entire industry. Now, when I interview job candidates, I look for the quiet ones, the observers, the ones others might underestimate, because I know that sometimes the most revolutionary ideas come from those who've learned to work in the shadows before stepping into their light. The nameplate on my door reads Maya Chen, Chief Technology Officer. But in the global developer community, I'm still known as Phoenix. Not because I'm hiding anymore, but because I showed others how to rise from the ashes of underestimation and soar. Richard Shaw's biggest mistake wasn't taking credit for my work. It was assuming that power only comes from titles and corner offices. Real power comes from the ability to transform challenges into opportunities, to turn dismissal into determination, and to use success not for revenge, but for revolution. Every morning, I walk past my old assistant's desk, now occupied by someone I'm mentoring toward greater things. It reminds me that sometimes the most powerful position isn't at the top. It's wherever you can make the most difference. And sometimes the quietest person in the room isn't quiet because they're weak. They're quiet because they're building something revolutionary, just waiting for the right moment to change everything.